Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how you can improve your time management. Let me first start by doing a little bit of a mind shift here. I'm not reaching out, changing your minds or anything, but really inviting you to shift your thinking in a little different direction. And that is to consider that maybe the most effective way to manage your time is not to manage your time, but really to manage your promises or your outcomes that you desire or intend to have. That's a lot more interesting than managing your time. And but before I start getting into some more specifics, let me describe how most people manage their times or their time. And it's what I call fantasy time management. Most people have very unrealistic expectations of their day or their week. And so they start off the day thinking, I'm going to play 12 rounds of golf, wake up at 5 a.m. and play 12 rounds of golf, have a great hearty breakfast, get into work, and then make 50,000 calls. And then by lunchtime, I'll have a very peaceful state of mind. And I'll actually go out, have lunch somewhere, come back, and then make 20,000 calls. And then when I get back home, when I meet my spouse, my spouse had a very uneventful day, so we get to hang out in the backyard, have a nice little calm barbecue, and then go to sleep at 9 o'clock and wake up at 5 o'clock the next day again. And that rarely happens, unless you have a certain level of effectiveness, which I would say is very, very rare. Most people don't. And the first thing to do is to get aware of that fantasy time management. Now, I know I've exaggerated it. Some of you are going, well, that sounds exaggerated, but it's not quite far from the truth, is it? If you think about the thinking behind how most people manage their time, they have really unrealistic expectations. They'll set unrealistic expectations for the number of sales they'll make today. The unrealistic expectations of how many videos they can shoot in one day, and so on and so forth. And so the first thing to notice is, really getting a reality check on how much fantasy you put in your time management. That's first point. The second is really from a brain science point of view. We understand a lot of the functions of the brain for quite a while, actually. I know there's been a lot of advancements in brain science, but we've known a lot about brain science performance intuitively and logically, and now definitely biologically we're very clear about it. And that is that this part of the brain, called the prefrontal cortex, is the part of the brain that's used for most day-to-day work. It's responsible for deciding, understanding, storing, recalling memories, something called inhibition, task switching, a variety of tasks that you do throughout your day. And it takes up a lot of your energy and your food intake. So if you apply your brain resources, so to speak, or your thinking or your energy and your brain, or your capacity of your brain, towards things that really don't put money back in your pocket, well, then you're leaving less and less resources as the day goes by, or the week goes by, for the more important things. And that's a very important thing to understand, which leads me to the next point, which is if you're transforming time management into outcome management or promise or result management, then you want to look at the results that you feel or preferably both, feel and logically and numerically, that if you applied your direction or your energy in that direction, that you'll actually get a good return on the time spent. And those are the activities that you want to spend the early morning hours determining, or preferably even the evening before determining, so you can focus on those first. Now, if you focus on those high profit activities first, then you're going to get a lot more done. And actually, not so much a lot more done, I correct myself. Really, you're going to get a lot more back in terms of results, which is more interesting, isn't it? You might even do less to get more outcomes back. Now, the beautiful thing about that, if you operate it in that way, is that you'll find yourself having brain resources still left at the end of the day for other things. Typically in our coaching programs, what we found is people who do this kind of planning and transform their thinking from doing task-oriented to outcome-oriented, typically, and they limit the number of outcomes that they do. If they come to me with less than four items in a day, they get the majority of those items, not half the majority of those items, done by 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And people who have to-do lists, which have more than 4, which typically they are, typically get none. And it's not too hard to understand that. Now, I say typically, there may be exceptions, but it's not too hard to understand that, isn't it? Because your brain has to spend some resources managing the to-do list in the first place. But if you keep it simple for the brain to understand and manage what you have to do, you're probably having more brain resources devoted to creating outcomes. So I hope this video has been of use to you in this time that we've had, and it's a high profit activity for you. And I look forward to sharing more information with you in our events and in our future videos. Take care.